A new word that you need to learn is dont, D-O-N-T. Contrary to what you may think, it doesn't mean don't. It's a relative pronoun which replaces a phrase that's introduced by de. And so oftentimes the translation will be something like of whom or of which, because oftentimes we translate de with of. For example, je te charge du message. I charge you with this message. If I were to then put that into a clause where I needed to make that a relative clause, it would look like this. Fais-y entendre le message dont je te charge. Make heard there the message which I charge you, or about which I charge you. You can see that you have to be flexible with your translation because it really depends upon what is said originally, what it refers to, whether it should be of which, etc. So be ready to try on different things in the translation. As I say here, it can be translated by whose, of which, of whom, or which, depending upon the context of the sentence and the verb in the clause, etc. Take a look at another example. Il revint alors sur sa décision et n'accomplit pas le malheur dont il les avait menacés. He returned then from his decision and did not accomplish the bad, the evil, the punishment which he had menaced them, or which he had threatened them with, would be kind of the idea. So you can see here that I don't need to use the word of, which works perfectly well because that's an appropriate translation in this relative pronoun context. Another example. Nous avons trouvé celui dont Moïse a parlé dans le livre de la loi et dont les prophètes aussi ont parlé. C'est Jésus, le fils de Joseph de Nazareth. We have found the one whom Moses spoke, or about whom Moses spoke. In English, we would probably use the word about as the in conjunction with parler, to speak, in order to indicate the content or the subject about which we spoke. So we have found the one about whom Moses spoke in the book of the law, and about whom the prophets also spoke. Lequel is another important word to learn from chapter 14. Lequel and its various forms based upon gender and number is a relative pronoun and an interrogative pronoun. It will agree with its antecedent in gender and number, and it also contracts with a and de as the article would. You can see basically it's a compound form of the article and then an interrogative pronoun. So for example, here I am showing you the masculine singular, the masculine plural, the feminine singular, the feminine plural, and then here's the contractions with a, and here's the contractions with de. It works exactly like you would expect. When a contraction can be made, it will be made at the front of the word. When it can't, it will simply precede as the preposition normally would. Lequel refers to either persons or things depending upon the context. Here's an example. C'était là tout le fils de Héman, lequel annonçait au roi les messages de Dieu pour exalter sa puissance. It was there all the sons of Heman who announced to the king the messages of God in order to exalt his power. Lequel here, masculine singular, not following a pronoun or anything of that nature, simply refers back to Heman, and so it would be translated as who. You'll notice within its clause it's a subject, so therefore we use who instead of whom. Tous les 4 ans, ont organisé dans la ville de Tyr des compétitions sportives auxquelles le roi assistait. Every 4 years, they organized in the village of Tyre sporting competitions which the king attended. Now, what's interesting here is that the verb assiste, to attend, will always show what you're attending with the preposition. So that's why this form of lequel is a compound form with the preposition a. You'll also notice that it is feminine plural because it refers back to compétition, to which the king attended. We don't use the word to in that instance, so we would just say which the king attended. A form of lequel can be used instead of que or qui to clearly indicate the antecedent because it's marked by gender and number. Qu'en sera-t-il alors de celui qui méprise le Fils de Dieu, qui considère comme négligeable le sang de l'alliance par laquelle il a été purifié et qui en sorte d'esprit, source de grâce? What will become then of the one who insults the Son of God, who considers as negligible the blood of the alliance, the covenant, by which he was purified, and who insults the Spirit, source of grace? Lequel here is masculine singular. So the question is, does it refer back to l'alliance or le sang? L'alliance is feminine singular, so it has to refer to le sang in this particular context, the blood, not the covenant. Ce qui and ce que are two other phrases you need to learn from this particular chapter. They act like their counterparts qui and que. They are relative pronouns which can be translated by what, who, which, or that, depending upon the context. Now, one translation tip that might be helpful is oftentimes when you see ce qui, you could say that which or that who to get started, but then once you go further in the sentence, you realize that a simple relative pronoun will function appropriately for the translation. A special construction that's quite common to indicate emphasis is ce que or qui plus a statement, and then c'est plus a statement. It'll appear that those are two sentences just written straight together, which should have a period or a comma between them, but it's a way that French emphasizes. And these constructions can be best translated by single sentences. So, for example, par Jésus, nous avons pu, par la foi, avoir accès à la grâce de Dieu en laquelle nous demeurons fermement, et ce que nous réjouit, c'est l'espoir d'avoir part de la gloire de Dieu. By Jesus, we have been able by faith to have access to the grace of God in which we remain firmly. And that which rejoices us, that which makes us glad, it is the hope of having part in the glory of God. Now, you'll notice that makes perfectly good sense in English. It's almost a little bit more like Greek than it is English. But we could also simply turn those last two sentences into a single sentence. And it is the hope of having part in the glory of God which makes us rejoice. In English, I probably would have to invert that word order, but I'm also very comfortable if you leave it alone because it does still communicate okay in English. Soit and soit is an interesting construction to keep in mind. Soit, as you know, is a third-person singular subjunctive of être, but it is sometimes used idiomatically in pairs to mean either one thing or another. C'est par la mort de son Fils sur la croix qu'il a établi la paix pour tous, soit sur la terre, soit dans les cieux. It is by the death of his Son on the cross that he established peace for all, whether on the earth or in the heavens. I probably could also say either on the earth or in the heavens, but whether will sometimes be a great translation as well. Si ce qui a été volé est trouvé vivant entre ses mains, soit bœuf, soit âne, soit mouton, il fera compensation au double. If that which was stolen is found living between his hands, literally, but more idiomatically in his possession, whether cow, whether donkey, whether sheep, he will make compensation to double. He will make double compensation. Here, soit is just indicating different options, different possibilities that satisfy the condition. Venir has several idioms that you need to know. Venir plus an infinitive, sometimes with the preposition pour, can equal intention. Qu'ai-je à faire avec toi, roi de Juda? Ce n'est pas toi que je viens attaquer aujourd'hui. What have I to do with you, King of Judah? It is not you that, literally, I come to attack today, more idiomatically, that I intend to attack today. Venir plus de plus infinitive equals a recent event. The present tense of venir means this has just occurred, whereas the imperfect of venir would be it has just occurred, but in the past. It had just occurred when such and such happened. Take a look at this example from Romans. Eh bien, nous venons de dire que Dieu considéra Abraham comme juste en tenant compte de sa foi. So, we have just said that God considered Abraham as just by taking account of his faith. Venir plus a plus an infinitive means to happen to do something, almost by chance. Ainsi la femme mariée est liée par une loi à un homme tant qu'il vit, mais s'il vient à mourir, elle ne relève plus de la loi conjugale. Therefore, a married woman is tied by the law to a man as long as he lives. But if he happens to die, she is no longer controlled, no longer under the conjugal law. En venir à plus infinitive means to be reduced to. Comment pourrais-je en venir à te traiter comme les villes d'Adma et de Seboim? How could I be reduced to treating you like the villages of Adma and Seboim?